The moment everything exploded wasn't fire or glass, it was a scream. Not pain, not fear, performance. My girlfriend's voice tearing through a police radio like she'd been rehearsing for the Oscars. He killed my dog! He killed my dog! And the strangest part? We didn't have a dog. My stomach didn't drop, my heart didn't race. I just stood there thinking of all the things she could have invented. Why a dog? But shock is quiet at first. It's just confusion wearing a thin coat of calm. If I rewind a little, I guess I should start with who I was before the screaming soundtrack entered my living room. My name is Jason. I was 34 then, clumsy with emotions, fluent in sarcasm. Humor was the duct tape I used to hold my insecurities together. If I joked first, nobody would notice how nervous I was about being me. And Emily, she liked that about me. Or pretended to. Hard to tell now. She was the type of woman who could make a room spin just by walking into it. Not because she was beautiful, though she was, but because she carried chaos like perfume. And somehow, I convinced myself chaos was passion, excitement, something special. Maybe I liked saving people, or maybe I liked believing someone needed saving. Either way, I ignored the red flags so hard they could have been on fire. In the beginning, she wasn't screaming about imaginary dead dogs. She was laughing, kissing, drinking cheap wine on the kitchen counter while I burned dinner and called it experimental cuisine. I liked that version of her, the one who made me feel chosen instead of tolerated. But slowly, shift by shift, tantrum by tantrum, apology by apology, something changed. She didn't need comfort. She needed an audience. And I became it. The first moment I should have seen something was off, was stupid and almost funny. She announced she was suddenly super into fitness, which would have been great if her cardio tolerance wasn't the equivalent of a potato. The woman sprained her ankle once just sitting up too fast. So when she started going to the gym at 11 p.m., 3 nights a week, I laughed about it. Midnight gains? I joked. She glared like I'd insulted her grandmother. Maybe I'm trying to better myself, she snapped, grabbing her bag dramatically. I apologized, like I always did. And she stormed out anyway. I sat on the couch that night, staring at the door for way too long, trying to convince myself I was overthinking. I wasn't the jealous type. If anything, I assumed people would leave eventually, so I just got used to the countdown. I told myself she'd come back, annoyed but fine. And she did, except it didn't stop. Next came the phone calls. Someone named Chris started popping up on her screen more than I did. Saved in her contacts as dentist. Cute cover, except Emily hadn't been to the dentist in 2 years and her teeth were perfect. I asked calm and casual, "Who's Chris?" She didn't miss a beat. "My dentist. He's checking in on a crown." "Do crowns send emojis now?" I raised an eyebrow. She exploded, accused me of calling her a liar, of saying she couldn't make male friends, of controlling her. I wasn't doing any of that. I was just noticing. But noticing around Emily was a crime. I apologized again. Instinct at that point, even though I didn't mean it. Something inside me started to sink a little lower that night. Not heartbreak, just exhaustion, pretending everything was okay. Then the undeniable moment, the one no joke could cover. She came home one night wearing a shirt 3 sizes too big, definitely not hers, reeking of cologne that wasn't mine. Hair messy, lipstick half gone. "It's laundry day," she announced casually, like she hadn't just walked in like a plot twist from a bad movie. I looked at her hands. No laundry bag, no detergent, no keys to the complex laundry room. I asked quietly, "Whose shirt is that?" She froze, just for a second, but I saw it. The panic, the scramble, the switch flipping behind her eyes. "Wow, you don't trust me at all," she whispered, trembling like I had betrayed her. Classic Emily. If she couldn't win, she'd flip the board. She cried, hyperventilated, accused me of not loving her, of being cold, of wanting her miserable. I tried to comfort her, even though my stomach was twisting. I wasn't stupid. I just wasn't ready to leave. I hated the idea of losing someone more than the idea of staying hurt. So I held her while she cried about the mess she made and somehow made it my fault. We went to bed pretending everything was okay. But when I woke up the next morning, she wasn't next to me. The silence felt staged. And then the police knocked. 2 officers stood at the door, calm but alert. "Received a disturbance call from this address," one said. I was confused, embarrassed, half asleep. Told them they were mistaken. They asked to come inside to make sure everything was okay. I agreed, because I genuinely believed everything was fine enough. And then the world went sideways. The officer radioed dispatch, simple routine. And out of the radio, Emily's voice blasted through, hysterical. "He killed my dog. He killed my dog." It was surreal, like hearing someone accuse you of murdering the moon. The officer paused mid-breath, looked at me and asked gently, "Do you have a dog?" I said no, but apparently I killed it. That was when the hallway thundered with footsteps, and Emily showed up like she'd been waiting for her cue. Mascara running, snot bubbling, sobbing with her whole body. "I know what I saw! You can't hide the body forever!" She was shaking, screaming, pointing at me like I was some unhinged serial pet killer. There was no dog. There was never a dog, not even a pet rock. But the police didn't know that yet. The chaos was just beginning, and deep down, as I stood there speechless, I felt something inside me finally snap. Not loud and dramatic, just quietly. I can't protect this anymore. And that was the first moment I realized, maybe I wasn't the broken one. The officer stayed calm in a way that made me both grateful and furious. Calmness felt like mockery when your life was dissolving in front of you, but at least he wasn't gasping or judging. He asked Emily if she'd like to explain herself, and she stuttered, sobbing between each word, inventing reasons that didn't exist. "Chris, he said I'm lying." "But she cried, voice cracking like it could split the air in half. Her words tumbled, unfiltered and chaotic, but through it all, I started to piece it together. Chris, the mysterious dentist, Emily's late-night obsession, the perfume that wasn't mine, the borrowed shirt, the ridiculous story about the dog, all of it pointed to the same truth. Emily had been dumped, and somehow, in her mind, framing me would make it okay. Make it fixable. Make the world bend to her narrative. The officer looked at me. I shrugged, half laughing in disbelief. "There's no dog," I said. He nodded, unsurprised, like this kind of insanity was routine. Finally, he addressed Emily directly. "Filing a false report is a crime. Do you understand?" Her face fell. Not fear, not shame, the dramatic collapse of a universe she had built herself. I think she realized in that instant that the world doesn't always bend to chaos. And then, as if timing itself had a dark sense of humor, her phone buzzed on the counter. "Chris." Emily snatched it up and frantically read the message. "You're insane. Lose my number." Blocked. Permanently. She froze, blinked. Her mouth opened, then closed. The officer gave me a look that said, "You can leave now." She packed like a hurricane, clothes flying, bags dropping, her voice echoing with every insult she could summon. "Monster!" she shouted, tripping over the welcome mat as she stormed out. I didn't reply. I laughed a little, not because it was funny, because finally the absurdity of it all was mine alone to witness. In the aftermath, the apartment felt like a crime scene for weeks. Empty. Smelling faintly of perfume and regret. I spent nights replaying the events in my head, dissecting every red flag I'd ignored. Humor had always been my shield, but now I wondered if it had also been my blindfold. Months passed. Slowly, painfully, I moved into a smaller place, quieter, far from the chaos of Emily's theatrics. I unpacked box after box, silently marking off memories that weren't mine to keep. And then I met her, my new partner Emma, a quiet, grounded presence that didn't demand an audience for her existence. We became friends first. Coffee, walks, casual dinners. Nothing intense, nothing overwhelming, just stability. I didn't rush. She didn't pressure. And slowly, carefully, the quiet friendship became something tender. Laughter was natural this time. Smiles unforced. Conversations that didn't leave me wondering what trap awaited. One evening, sitting on her couch, I told her about Emily. About the dog. About the chaos. She didn't gasp, didn't lecture. She just laughed softly, eyes warm, and said, "People like that are exhausting. You don't have to be part of their story anymore." Her words were simple, but they struck deeper than I expected. And for the first time in months, I allowed myself to believe that people could be safe. That trust didn't have to be terrifying, but life, as it often does, loves a little irony. Months later, I ran into Emily in a coffee shop, quietly, unplanned. She looked smaller than I remembered, eyes darting, breath shallow. No performance this time, just a person who had run out of lines. "Jason," she whispered. Her voice was less dramatic, almost tentative. I didn't know what to feel. Anger? Sadness? Relief? "Emily," I replied, my voice calm but firm. We talked, quietly, honestly. No accusations, no screaming, no imaginary dogs. She admitted her mistakes, confessed the selfishness and the chaos she'd caused. No excuses, just raw regret. And me? I forgave her. Not because it absolved her, but because carrying that anger was like drinking poison slowly. I didn't forgive to let her off the hook. I forgave to set myself free. The dark humor of it all hit me later that night. I thought about the absurdity. Screaming about a dog that didn't exist, being manipulated by a tantrum, watching a human unravel because of a text message. And yet, here I was, alive, laughing softly to myself in the dark. Humor had saved me again, not just shielding me from pain, but showing me the ridiculousness of it all. Emma texted me later that evening. Coffee tomorrow? I smiled. Life could still be ordinary, calm, grounded, maybe even joyful. I realized something essential. Chaos doesn't define you. People don't define you. Your laughter, your resilience, your ability to find clarity and love again, that's what stays. After that private confrontation with Emily, I realized how much of myself I'd left in the wreckage of that relationship. Not her. Her chaos was always hers, but me. My humor, my patience, my constant need to fix things that weren't mine to fix. Emma became my anchor. She didn't know it at first. She wasn't flashy. She didn't sweep into my life like a storm or demand center stage. She just existed. And her quiet steadiness forced me to notice my own heartbeat again. To notice that I was allowed to breathe without fear, without walking on eggshells, without performing for someone else's chaos. We laughed more than I thought possible. Small things, a coffee cup with a pun, a misheard lyric, a badly drawn stick figure. And those moments weren't just funny, they were healing. Each laugh peeled away layers of self-doubt, layers of shame I didn't even realize I'd been carrying for years. Humor had always been my shield. But now with Emma, it became a bridge. I could joke, yes, but also be vulnerable. I could say, I'm scared sometimes. I've been hurt. I need you to be patient with me. And she would. And I'd survive being honest without a disaster following. Life began to feel cinematic in a quiet, understated way. I'd walk down the street and feel like I could look people in the eye, smile, and not worry that they were secretly plotting to break me. I felt human, whole. Even the memory of Emily no longer made me tense. I remembered her shouting about the dog, tripping over the welcome mat, her mascara running, the absurdity of the entire scene, and I laughed quietly to myself. Dark humor, yes, but a humor that tasted like survival. One evening, Emma and I were sitting on the couch, sharing half a bottle of wine. She nudged me with her elbow and said, "You know, if you ever tell this story out loud, people will think it's fiction." I smirked. They wouldn't believe me. Even now, I feel like I'm in the punchline. "Good," she said. "You survived the joke. That's what matters." And she was right. Months later, Emily tried contacting me again. Not publicly, not with the dramatics, just a tentative message. "Can we talk?" I considered it, really considered it. I remembered the screaming, the perfume, the stolen shirts, the imaginary dog, and the police officer giving me that look that said, "You're done here." I replied once, "I think we already did. No further explanation needed, no apology required. Closure wasn't hers to give. I had it in me." Emma and I continued slowly, steadily. No rush. Quiet dinners became traditions. Walks in the park became meditative rituals. I laughed at stupid jokes. I cried at quiet sadnesses. I learned to hold both extremes without fear. One morning, jogging through my neighborhood, the officer from that long-ago chaos waved. "Did you get another dog yet, killer?" he called. I laughed. Loud, real laughter. And for the first time in months, maybe years, it was free of tension, free of fear, free of pretense. I realized something. Life doesn't need to be perfect. People aren't perfect. But clarity, resilience, and the ability to find humor even in your own misery, that's priceless. And it's yours if you take it. So I'll ask you the same question I eventually asked myself. If someone tried to frame you for killing a dog that never existed, would you A, laugh in their face, B, cry from secondhand embarrassment, or C, pack your bags and move to another planet? I don't have a single answer. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the point is that life isn't about perfect responses. It's about surviving, laughing, loving again, and keeping your dignity intact, even when the absurdity threatens to swallow you whole. Because at the end of the day, chaos is temporary. Humor is eternal. And love, the quiet, steady kind, can still find you in the ruins.